Good morning, this is Carl Hawkins. Welcome to Rugby Saturday. Today I'm here with Tom Goslow for the UNM update. Tom, welcome back to Rugby Saturday. And tell me a little bit about what's going on. As I understand it, you've got one heck of a schedule set up for the Lobos this coming season.
Yeah, we do. We've been preparing all summer for this upcoming season this fall. I think it's probably one of the toughest D1A schedules, if not the toughest match schedules that UNM has probably ever faced in the way that rugby is growing and how competitive it's becoming. We have 6 D1A West Conference matches this fall, plus one D1A friendly match against Texas Tech as well. In addition, we'll also be playing New Mexico Highlands, and we'll also be playing New Mexico Tech this fall. So it's a pretty tough schedule. The boys have been in the gym all summer preparing for it. As you know, we came off of a great finish to our 2016 or 2015-2016 season. We were able to finish with that nice win against ASU, and we played some really competitive rugby in the spring. So the guys are very, very excited about the fall. We'll be in camp. We start training camp on August 15th, so it's coming up really quick.
Well, it's kind of an acknowledgement of the advancements that the program is making, that you can get people to schedule you of that caliber. And I know that despite the fact that it's a daunting schedule, it's the kind of stuff that you build off of that, you know, turns clubs into a great club, huh?
Exactly. You know, when we started, when I took over the program last August, we knew that we had a pretty formidable task in front of us, building this team up to the caliber that's necessary to compete in D1A rugby. And so that first season was really about setting the foundation for the team. And the boys understood that it was going to be really difficult. It was going to be very, very challenging. We had some rough matches in the fall of 2015, but as I said, the spring things really turned around. And the boys are really confident, and they're very excited. They're out working hard. They're already starting to look into some fundraising activities so we can get some money in there for the team to help pay for some of these big road trips we have coming up. And they're also heavily recruiting. We spent a lot of time in the spring with the local high school teams, trying to encourage these boys to look at UNM as an option to come to school, because there's some excellent high school rugby talent in this state. As well as we're working a lot of our connections to outside of the state to see if we can encourage players from outside to come and consider UNM as a D1A rugby option for them.
That's good stuff. Tapping into that youth program that has been developed in Albuquerque is a key. It was wonderful to get to call some of your games last season and see the progress from that University of Utah drubbing that you took at the beginning of the season to the way you turned it around and beating Arizona at the end. That was something else. I really enjoyed it. Tell me a little bit about what you think the expectations are. How do you think you're going to come out? Let's make a prediction on the win-loss out of that.
The win-loss, we have a couple of things. Our first thing is about player development, continuing to develop a strong base of players, because in order for us to be really competitive, we need to have a solid A side and we need to have a solid B side, constantly challenging that A side to keep those guys honest and working hard. But we also need a third side of development players that are freshmen, guys new to the game, you know, giving them an opportunity to start to learn this game without having to feel that pressure and that crushing rugby style that the A guys are going up against in their D1A matches. So our first goal is player development. We really anticipate that we'll have at least 40 to 45 players out regularly on our training squad this year. It could go higher, I hope, but that's our baseline goal, 40 to 45. And then you know, UNM has never won a match in D1A rugby in a conference match. So our goal this season is to get that elusive 1 win, possibly 2. I honestly think that the team has a very realistic chance of winning 2 conference matches.
Fantastic.
This fall, so.
Good luck to you on that. Tell me a little bit about the Alumni Weekend.
Oh, Alumni Weekend.
I'm looking forward to that, being an alumni myself.
Alumni Weekend is coming up. We've restructured or reformatted the Alumni Day to be a little bit different from the past, because we're following the lead of several other programs in D1A to build stronger bridges with our alumni so that we have more support from the alumni, not just from a financial standpoint, but to build more of a brotherhood with our alumni so that we can look to them as mentors for these young men. So our format for Alumni Day this year is a little bit different. On Friday night, September 9th is the first day. One of our local players who has a restaurant here in town, Wally, has set up a night for alumni coming back into town to have drink and food specials there. And then on September 10th, out at Johnson Field, at 12 o'clock, UNM will play New Mexico Tech. Our A side will play New Mexico Tech.
Oh,
and
that'll be a nice addition.
Yeah,
huh?
and that's a rematch of the Rio Grande Championship, which
That
we
is
won
indeed, huh?
in the springtime. So it'll be kind of fun. The point, we really wanted our alumni to watch our players play. I think it's really important for them to see where the team is, how they play, and to really get a feel for who these players are right now.
That's great. I look forward to that.
Yeah, and then we're going to follow that New Mexico Tech game with a cherry silver match. So basically, we're going to mix up the alumni and the players together on two different teams, cherry team and silver team, and let them have a little fun playing some rugby with each other. And that evening, 6 o'clock in the evening at Park Central Hotel, we'll have our alumni dinner banquet. And that's a coat and tie affair. It's something that we pushed with the dinner for all our team dinners. It's part of how we're building the culture and the mutual respect for each other. So we'll have that dinner on Saturday night, 6 o'clock. And it should be a really good time. It's at the Park Central Hotel. I think alumni will really enjoy it.
A good reason to come back to New Mexico once a year.
Yeah,
huh?
one of the things we want to do is we wanted to show, how we feel and how we think about these alumni. We didn't want to just have some, just like offhand kind of small dinner somewhere. We want to do something really special, show them, what we think, and we want to continue to build a stronger relationship with the alumni for the team going down the road. So we hope that this year's Alumni Day kind of sets a precedent for what alumni can expect from the team.
Good deal.
And how things are going to go in the future for them.
Good deal. Great. It's indicative of what you've done with the program. Developing the alumni side of it is equally important.
Yep.
And the major powerhouses in college rugby are well supported by their alumni, and
Oh, yeah. We
that's
see
where
it.
we need to
We
go.
see it.
Quickly, we got about 10 seconds. Predictions for the Olympic sevens.
Oh, geez. Gold medal for U.S. in men's and women's sevens Olympic rugby, for sure.
Hey, carrying the torch.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
All right.
Good luck.
Welcome back to Rugby Saturday Southwest. Aaron Rivera here, joined by Taylor Hood from the Albuquerque Journal, as well as Carl Hawkins from before. So guys, the Olympics are coming up and rugby is back in the game. It's going to be the first time since 1924 that rugby is being played at the Olympics, and it's going to be a pretty exciting time for the sport.
Yeah, the U.S. are the defending champions. This is actually the fourth time that rugby's been played in the Olympics, and the U.S. owns 2 gold medals, 1920 and 1924. Yeah, we can kind of blame the French for both rugby and rugby in the Olympics. With
Pierre
what's
de
his name?
Coubertin. Pierre de Coubertin. He started both the IOC in 1894 as well as French club rugby back 2 years before that. But it's going to be a pretty exciting time. The last time that we did play, we were talking a little bit earlier about it. Apparently the U.S. upset the French so bad it almost started some riots down on the streets.
Well, it started riot in the stadium. The French fans rushed the field. There were about 20,000 of them. And the police and the French team protected the U.S. players.
Oh, wow.
And then at the award ceremony, they had to bring in more police to protect the podium. There were 3 teams on the podium. Only 3 teams played in the Olympic rugby that year. That was France, Romania, and the United States, with the U.S. and France trouncing Romania. And then the big upset. Well, it's hard to say it's a big upset, because they had already beat the French in Antwerp the year before,
Right.
but there were only 2 teams playing in that Olympics.
Well, this year we're going to have a few more teams playing, but New Mexico's actually got a lot of ties involved with the Olympics. In those 24 teams, we actually had both a player and a coach involved with that gold medal squad that you're seeing on the screen.
There's the team right there, the 1924 Olympic team up on your screen.
And Carl, you were telling us that you actually got to meet him?
Yeah, this is Norm Cleveland, and he's from Daddle. Taylor was telling me, Taylor and I were talking about, he was from Daddle.
Right, a ranch outside of Daddle.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out where Daddle was, and I just happened to know because we flew over it on the way to do the games down in Tucson. We were looking down at Daddle.
Yeah.
Norm lived up in Santa Fe for a long time. He's passed away now, but he was a big supporter of New Mexico rugby. We would have him speak at rugby events. He was close to the Santa Fe rugby team. He was a great guy, really energetic, and a good sponsor of rugby for well into his 90s. So it was a wonderful arrangement. Now here's Dudley DeGroot. He was the head coach, and you know a little bit more about Dudley than I do, actually.
Well, yeah, Dudley actually went on to coach the Lobo football team from 1950 to 1953. So he doesn't just have New Mexico ties; he's got Lobo ties.
Lobos.
Yeah, yeah.
We all have, everybody that's worth anything has a Lobo tie.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
here
right.
we
You know
go.
what they say, everyone's a Lobo.
Woof, woof, woof.
Woof, woof, woof.
Well, you know, those guys started off the New Mexico ties, and I understand that on the women's side we're going to have another New Mexican playing, Jillian Potter, and I believe you're going to be writing a story about that soon. Too.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
got a little tickler here. You know, Taylor's going to build up an audience for a forthcoming article, right?
Well,
Tell
I
us
hope
about
so. We have an article coming out. I believe it's scheduled to come out this Sunday on Jillian Potter, and she is a La Cueva graduate. Went on to be a Lobo, as we were saying. And she has quickly risen to the top of the women's rugby circuit, which is quite incredible considering this is a woman who has dealt with a shattered spine. She broke her C5 vertebrae and dislodged her C4, requiring surgery. And that was about 6 years ago. But then in 2014, she was diagnosed with a very rare, very aggressive form of cancer, synovial sarcoma, and it was stage 3. And it was a long process to overcome synovial sarcoma. It's very hard to treat. It was in a very bad place in her head, but it quickly spread to all of her joints. So it was a long road. And she set her eyes on the Olympics. This will be the first time that women's rugby is going to be played at the Olympics. And Jillian is a very competitive, pioneering woman, and that's sort of music to her ears.
You know,
So
she had a meteoric rise, actually, didn't she?
she sure did.
She as a freshman at UNM, she was recruited to play rugby.
Right,
And
she
she
hadn't
played,
played before.
and she just played for like a couple of years, never having seen the game before,
Right.
and was, you know, just grabbed by the U.S. national team, which women's 7 national, the Eagles,
The Eagles, right.
has only been around for I think 4 seasons or 5 seasons on the 7s level.
Right.
And so that was just phenomenal what she did, and she became really big on both the 7s and the 15s.
Absolutely.
She's the
Captain.
Then she broke her neck.
Right.
Then she made her comeback. Then she got cancer, and in the World Cups, the 4 years, the World Cup before this,
Right.
she had cancer so bad that her tongue and it was in her face.
Swelled
right?
right up. She had trouble breathing.
Oh my God.
She says she was very fatigued, just sort of went to bed early, but the doctors had originally told her that it was benign. She had found the lump under her tongue, and she was told it was benign, but then she ended up at the World Cup, and it got bigger and bigger. And despite the fatigue and the trouble breathing and the obvious fear that would come along with something like that, she still competed in the World Cup and helped her team. This is quite the competitor.
Yeah, she's 5'10", probably about 170 pounds, maybe. I mean, she's a
that's
tough
about right.
cookie.
She
Yeah.
is. She is, and
And
her
she is
position on
so
the field.
beloved
Oh,
by
absolutely.
the players on her team. She was captain.
Yeah, not just her team. She's received support from the international community. People on opposing teams really adore her as well. And so she is very loved in the rugby world.
Yeah, we heard from Tom Goslow when we were talking after the first segment this morning about what the men's and women's rugby teams did independently of the university. Apparently the university did not participate, and they raised funds for her and did all kinds of things to help her through the long journey that she's made in recovery from her injuries. So I thought that was phenomenal. The rugby brotherhood and sisterhood is just incredible.
Yes.
Well, it definitely shows the resilience of not only a New Mexican, but that rugby spirit. But we'll be right back, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Olympics right after these. Welcome back to Rugby Saturday, and we're talking Olympics today. With this upcoming Olympics, they're not going to be playing the normal 15s that many people might be used to seeing, especially on the Balloon Fiesta Park. We're going to be seeing some sevens rugby coming up, and just a little reminder for people who may not have seen sevens or briefly touched on it. In the sevens rugby, they're going to have 12 total players on each team, and we talked to Dave Bracken last time about how tough it is to pick a squad, let alone picking 12 of your best players from the country. So you only have 12. They're going to be 7-minute halves, 2 halves per game, and it's a much higher scoring affair. So we're going to see a lot more points put up on the board as we set up into these games with 3 pools on both sides.
It's important to point out that of those 12 players, only 7 can be on the field at any time, right? And I haven't heard anything about it, about replacing players in injuries. And they play sevens over a couple of days, and it'll be interesting to see. You can have your team, you could play short. Right. You could have to go onto the field with 6 or 5 players if you get a lot of injuries. And I've seen plenty of injuries in rugby sevens.
Well, hopefully that won't happen, but sevens is designed for more of that tournament style. There's going to be 3 pools coming up. Each pool is going to send 2 of the best teams, and the USA's got 2 tough pools going for both the men and the women's sides. The men, they're going to be taking on Fiji, Argentina, as well as Colombia.
Correct.
So that's going to be a tough one. Fiji is the #1 ranked team in the world. Argentina is ranked 5th to the United States 6th, so it's going to be a tough battle. And
yeah, I think maybe we'll get past Colombia if we score a lot of points and can play tight games or beat either Fiji or Argentina. We'll make it through. Right. If we can't run up the points on Colombia and we get trounced by Fiji and Argentina, we may not make it to the next round. And so I'm hoping for the best. And as Tom Goslow said in an earlier segment, he thinks that the U.S. might have a good opportunity to knock off Fiji in the first round and scare them. So we'll see.
Yeah. It would be a nice turn of events. And then on the women's side, our group is going to be with Australia, Fiji, and Colombia. And again, Jillian Potter is playing on that team. You had a little bit of opportunity, Taylor, to talk to her about some of these upcoming matches, right?
Yeah, and she's not taking any of these matches for granted. She knows Australia is going to be a tough one. They're the #1 ranked team in the world.
Best in the world.
But she thinks the U.S. has a good chance to make a really strong showing. Their first match is against Fiji. Now, Fiji has a long and very strong rugby tradition, and they play a very fast, very unique form of rugby, real champagne rugby. And so she expressed concern about training for them, but to hear her talk about it, they are ready. They are ready for Fiji.
Well, I don't know how high Fiji is ranked. If you look at the results of the 4 years that the women have been playing in this Super Sevens series, it's been New Zealand, New Zealand, New Zealand, and Australia. And so...
Sounds like 15s.
Yeah, it does sound like 15s. And the United States has finished 6th, the best that they've ever finished, and that was in the last season. Yeah. So we got Spain in there. Spain played their way in, and we got the Colombia in there, and that so lots of good stuff there. Let's talk about the men a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be tough coming up. You know, Fiji, as we just mentioned before, they are the world's best. Well, they're one of the world's best men's clubs. We have them in our bracket, and so if we assume they'll be going on, South Africa and New Zealand are also going to be leading up groups B and C. So we can expect them to probably push through. And this time, when we mention Great Britain and England interchangeably, we're not incorrect.
Yeah,
so.
you know, I need to apologize to the world. I got a lot of complaints about me calling England when they were on the tour of the Southern Hemisphere of Britain. Yeah. And I apologize for that. You know, I was born in England. You'd think I would have got that straight, but
well, this time it's
especially to Dave Wheelock, the coach of the Pygmies down there in Socorro. I apologize, Dave.
Well, this time England is going to be playing for Great Britain.
Right.
So the clubs in Great Britain, so you have Wales, Scotland, and England. They were told by the International Olympic Committee that only one of them gets to represent them, because normally they would compete separately. So they did decide on England because they're a little bit better ranked than everybody else. England's 8th, Scotland's 10th, Wales is 12th.
Which, you know, I think that's a real shame that those countries can't independently represent themselves. But I mean, that's the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
But think about how many great rugby players are being left out because only 12 can be picked from the home nations. So it's, you know, that's kind of disappointing. It's almost as disappointing to me as the fact that Brazil has put together they're playing rugby in a 15,000 seat sort of temporary stadium.
Right.
I think that rugby in the Olympics is going to be one of the highlights. I think it's going to be, you know, there are so, you know, only the World Cups are only second to the Super Bowl in terms of viewing and in contact sports. It's amazing.
Well, they have a great time slot right at the beginning of the Olympics, and Rugby Sevens is fast, 15-minute matches. I think you're right. I think it's got a chance to really
I bet
blow
those tickets are hard to get. 15,000. I mean, in Brazil?
Yeah.
And Brazil is in the tournament.
Right.
Both the men and women, complementary positions because of the host country always gets in.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it should be a pretty exciting set of matches. The first ones kick off on Saturday. Spain and France are the women's sides, I should say. They get to have the first rugby matches since 1924. The men will start their games on Tuesday and Wednesday. And so the women will be just about finishing up their tournament as the men start to kick off and find out who's winning. So I hope everybody enjoys those. It'll be lots of fun to watch. And thank you folks so much for joining us. Thank you, Taylor, for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Go USA.
USA.
Eagles, men and women, all the way.
That's right.